Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing really well today. And first of all, thank you so much for taking time to join us. Welcome to our webinar on the AI execution era and what it means for professional services. Today, I'm joined by our Director of Growth and Partnerships, Ishwir Singh. Hello. He works closely with professional service leaders, implementation teams, and enterprise software teams every single day. So he has a front row view of how AI is changing the way implementations are delivered, and more importantly, where industry is headed. So I couldn't think of a better person to have this conversation with. Now, over the last year or so, we have all seen AI has become a part of our jobs, our everyday work. For many of us, it started as just an assistant helping us write the content for me and summarize documents, answer questions, and even automate small like tasks. And even now, if I go back, which a single landing page which used to take us like a week or 1.5 week, now we can finish it in like a single day. But it's so AI is there, moving far beyond just assisting us anymore. It's no longer just about making one employee little more productive. It's also starting to change how entire teams execute work and how organizations deliver their services, and ultimately it comes to the point of how generate better outcomes as a business as a whole thing. And that's exactly what we are going to explore today. We'll talk about what the AI execution era really means and how it's changing professional services, and why the future isn't just as AI assisting people, it's AI actually helping execute work across the entire implementation lifecycle. So I have the best person in the deck today, Ashwir Singh. Let's start with the big question now, the overall big summary question. We have been hearing a lot about the AI execution era.
Yes.
What makes this such an important moment for PS folks, professional service leaders, and all?
Sure. Thank you, Harika, for having me on the session today. Uh, Now, coming to your question about why is AI important for, especially in the professional services era, uh, let's take a step and understand why is it so. If you have ever been through if you ever lived through a enterprise software rollout, no, there's a new HRMS or a new global ERP or CRM being implemented in your organization. What happens? It starts with absolute peak of optimism. Right? Everybody's happy. The internal sponsor is very happy that he's getting a new software that'll do wonders in the organization. Then you have the vendor being very happy that he's closed a deal, and everyone is gung ho about what the future holds for them. And all this implementation phase, all the happiness actually dies the moment the implementation starts. Now, and why is it so? Because what was supposed to be a smooth, a very nice, simple, exciting digital transformation journey, it actually ends up being a very gruesome, manual, soul crushing work that happens for about 6 months to 2 years. Now, the interesting part is the paradox that's there in the business world today. Now, what I mean by this is we have great capabilities in software where we can predict consumer behavior, we can route shipping lines across the globe, and we can actually create code from basic prompts today with GPT and other such LLMs being there. So your technology is magical, but when it comes to installing and configuring the magical software, everything goes for a toss. You have these consultants working till 2 in the night, working very hard to get the things done. They're running through Excel sheets, color coding everything, sending out emails out. They're trying to have these data migrations done for the 10th time, which is again failing because they've tried to put some spaces, not work out. They put some M dashes, doesn't work out again. So what happens when doing the implementation journey is all these great stories that you have built around yourself for implementation goes completely in this dangerous wasteland where the IT budget is completely overrun, your consultants are burning out, and finally you have customers of the vendor going and writing these awful negative reviews on G2 and everything else. So, hence, for professional services, this current AI era is extremely important.
Also, I feel the boardroom hype. Like I've read a lot of articles. What do you think? You have lot of teams like marketing, if you see me, and also finance, logistics. Lot of industries have been using AI a lot, and it's been in the talk of like every boardroom discussion now. And it's
Absolutely.
yeah, it's been there, and there are a lot of people have been started investing it. But we also saw a lot of. I think you also mentioned now that paradox of productivity,
Yes.
and why is it there, like why is it sitting with the professional service teams more, most importantly, like when you are implementing enterprise software?
Right. So, as you rightly said, the AI is talk of the boardroom. It's been for the last almost 4 5 years now that AI has to be implemented, it has to be fully integrated into the ecosystem of the organizations, or everyone uses it. But now what happens is you start using AI, and individuals start using it. Like you said, like I use AI for my own content writing or for my creating my web pages. It's all happening at individual silos level. Not everyone is adopting AI. That's one. Second is, if you look at, let's say, a small startup, there are about 50 to 60 people are working together, and you can still push AI down their throat. But when it comes to a large complex enterprise, you're talking about hundred thousands of people working together. Now, AI if AI has to be successful, it has to be completely ingrained within the ecosystem. It should understand that the complex workflows happening across multiple functions, across multiple teams, multiple business entities. Now, all these outcomes don't come out together. So, yes, 92% of the companies want their AI to happen, and they are looking to increase their AI investment. But there's barely 1%, less than 1% actually mature enough to deliver business outcomes. So AI, though it looks fantastic, people aren't able to understand that at an enterprise level, I cannot deploy AI only for a specific isolated module, which is has a tech debt on it. It's shiny, but it's not showing the results supposed to show. Now, all these various, uh, you know, breakages that happen, the disconnect between what is needed or what it needs to solve to what it actually delivers has to be filled in. And so example, so currently if you look at AI, it's nothing but imagine putting a thermostat where you have a radiator in a house to manage the temperature, where your tubing, your plumbing of the house is way back in 1920s, 1930s. It won't handle it. It will definitely break down. So if you look at implementation, then implementation is not an isolated step, but it's a complete uh, step-by-step process which requires multiple stages, vary across multiple teams, doing a lot of work manually, and that workflow still hasn't been automated yet. That is why implementation is very
Yeah, sure, but we have these tools which are specifically made for implementations, which are like professional service tools with,
right.
there are a lot of things in the industry right now. But what does AI, I mean, what they do, and why AI has to do something out of it now? Like we used to have RPA and a lot of automation tools, and now we have like PS tools which are specifically made for implementations. What is it?
Yes. So, okay, let's understand what these different tools are. Let's start. There's an RPA which basically does your, it's a robotic process automation. So it's a robot, not intelligent robot, just a robot, which does an automation. So imagine a task where there's a duplicate entry happening, or there's a mismatch in the data. That process will immediately stop and break down, and it'll wait for the user to come and rectify it. So imagine you leaving your implementation in the night, you've gone to sleep in the morning, get up, it's stopped at the second row, and you have got like 10,000 rows to go through. Right. Now, the other part is PSA tool. Now, PSA tools are fantastic. It's a great tool, and people have been, all the implementation SI partners have been using it for decades now, because one, it tells you how many hours each of your team members is working on. It shows you the status. It tells you who's coordinating for the work. As a simple manager, I can just send out an email saying, hey, Harika, this is still a pending task on your table. Can you please look into it? But all these are communication tools or tracking tools. You still haven't got a tool that executes that work for you. So who's doing the heavy lifting for you? Who's doing that manual work, sitting on the Excel sheets, sitting on uh, your configurations, your data migrations? That's still happening manually. So no matter what you talk about these tools, they still don't do the heavy lifting for you. So what's the point of having fancy dashboards?
Exactly. When you mention the manual work, I just want you to maybe deep dive into what is exactly the opportunity here for AI execution here. What are the
Right.
few things which I think which is happening manually, and where can we find the opportunity with? I mean, where can we find the opportunity of AI execution, like which will solve it, which can solve them properly now?
Great. For this, you have to take a step up and understand what are the major challenges that come in implementation first. So the first thing that comes up is your project delays. You have signed up a contract with a client and you're very happy that hey, my it's a 4 month scope, let's do it. We all know it becomes 8 months to a year. Now the challenges can be obviously no client takes a blame that we've done something wrong. He always want to put it on you, the vendor. So there might be data mismatches coming in. The teams have changed in the client's place. Suddenly you had you're talking to team A, they moved out, team B is coming in. Then you have consultants from both the sides who are burning out because there's no movement that's happening between these people. You're When you're doing the configuration also, the vendor at the implementation side, you're dependent on certain rock stars who have this knowledge of how the configuration happens in their mind. It's not on paper. No one knows about it. So tomorrow, imagine he leaves. You are again out. You again. You can't tell a client somebody's left. So you have a junior who's doing it, but the junior who does not know what the workarounds. So obviously, no tool is perfect. You have to have workarounds to get the execution done or the configuration done. And in that space, right? All these breakages cause AI, or the breakages actually cause you delays. Sometimes the configuration starts breaking down. Your testing is a nightmare to happen. Testing starts breaking down, then cutover is god knows what happens in the cutover. When you go from a low environment to a straight production environment, everything literally breaks. And finally, once everything starts breaking, you have these 10,000 tickets that the client is sending to you saying, hey, it's not working out. Now suddenly you have calls going to the CEO of the implementation partner, hey, nothing's working, can deploy more people. So what you do at the end of the day is you throw people at a problem rather than going back to the drawing board and saying, how can we actually automate a lot of these problem statements?
Wonderful. When you
So
mention about, so
that's a good one.
when you mention about a consultant being a focus of lot of this,
Right.
and also I think the enterprise software implementations are a lot more complicated than people usually think, and you have mentioned it in a pretty well. I think it's better we can deep dive more on what is actually a traditional implementation lifecycle,
Sure.
and why are they suddenly the most viable industry for I mean, for AI to be implemented properly so that we can get better outcomes of in the whole as a business outcome. Can you just drive us through the whole implementation life cycle once?
Sure. So yeah, let's do that. So if I look at the implementation journey, the way it starts, the first step is where you're doing the discovery part. Where your pre-sales team or the sales team is having conversation with the client, understanding their needs, and can the software actually solve the problem statement. And once that discussion happens and the deal gets signed, it moves on to the requirement gathering. This is where you're sitting with the client, understanding his configuration workflows. It's slightly more technical, so you have both the pre-sales and the implementation team sitting with them. There are a lot of back and forth conversations happening, and these requirement gathering months have, and this can be over chats, over emails, over telephonic conversations, or the video calls. So a lot of inputs coming in to design the configuration. So that's imagine 5 people in your team talking to 20 people in the client's place. Imagine the amount of emails and all this transcripts going across, right? Now the team sits fine. You might have an LLM to cut short it, but again the problem is the LLM might actually miss the nuance of the conversation. So you need to actually go and sit through those videos, sit through those transcripts, understand each line of thing, map that requirement to a BRD. Now once a BRD is created or a business requirement document is created, the main heavy lifting starts by doing the configuration. So you're actually literally mapping out each task or each requirement to the configuration of the platform. So obviously it's not a structured conversation. You have certain tasks which go P0, certain P1, certain P2, there's a flow that's supposed to happen. Now all these various configurations are done manually. So Imagine yourself when you're doing the web page, you have to do click, 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 click for each thing model to be set up. This is just a web page. Imagine this doing on a CRM or an ERP at a global level. Imagine the complexity that comes into it. Then from there, you once your fine configuration is done, great. You spend 3 to 4 months or 5 months doing the configuration. You move to data migration. This is the most challenging part because the way I might store information, like in your today's ERP might store your name as first name, comma last name, but the new ERP must store it as one name, which has the first name and the last name combined together. How do you solve these problems? So that's a big problem thing to happen. And once data migration goes over, chalo fine, you've been successful, you've run 15 times, you run those automations, it's finally succeeded. And from there, you move to your testing. Now, in the testing stage, you either run the transfer the test that the test case that the customer has given to you. Obviously, you have to test what those configurations are. You'll have a junior consultant sitting and doing the cases for you. He'll only do as much as he's getting, sorry, to be paid, or he can spend that number of hours doing that, but he will never check the system in and out. Like thorough testing never happens. And from there, they move to cutover. So fine, you've testing, you've done the data migration, everything's done. You're moving from a low environment to a production environment, which is again a lot of manual work to happen. But let's say you've been successful here. This is where the biggest challenge comes in is your hypercare. That tickets start flooding from the client's end because the client is deploying it for his end users, which can be in the thousands. Now imagine all of them opening the CRM together, the ERP together, or HCM together, and start trying to use something on it, and everything starts breaking down. This is where everyone from the pre-sales team to the support team is part of the conversation as to we don't know what's breaking on somewhere. So now all these tasks happen manually across multiple teams doing all these things without sitting together and figuring things out. So this is the challenges of manual work that happens in implementation.
Yeah, it looks a lot complicated, and I think this requirements gathering and all. When you're saying it, it looks very simple, but obviously, if it's enterprise software, whole configuration, if you have to, even if we have to fill a single form, it will take us like a good half an hour or 30 minutes. And if imagine for the enterprise software implementation, I think that's the best part. Okay, let's do this. Maybe let's walk through the same exact life cycle again, but this time, like, look at how AI orchestration platforms, which is actually AI execution. I
Sure,
think Beacon.li as an AI execution layer,
sure.
how it's, I mean, starting from the beginning, discovery and requirements. Let's run through this again. How AI execution.
Absolutely. Now, this is the most interesting part of AI, the value it adds to professional services. So so before we can get to the execution layer, what AI does, let's understand how AI actually works. So for AI to work well, it has to be fed good information. So the better the data that comes in, the better the results, right? Otherwise, you put garbage in, garbage won't come out. Now, what sets Beacon apart in terms of its implementation automation is Beacon gets trained on your product. So it sits on top of the user interface. It learns every single page, every screen, every feature. It understands all the server calls, API calls happening behind those screen, behind those actions. And based on that information, it builds a knowledge graph. Knowledge graph is nothing but a working architecture of how a product actually functions, not the theoretically way it's supposed to function, which we all obviously all of us know that we put out a lot of information about a product, but it doesn't work that way, right? Now, once that is done, that's where Beacon deploys its agents to go and start executing tasks for respective actions. So now I'll put an AI agent for each of these respective tasks. The first task that the agent is to do is, let's say, start a discovery part. Now you and me are having a conversation, right? Now imagine putting a, a, a note taker here, or the conversation being recorded as a video or an audio, there's a transcript. I take this information out and I give it to the agent. Beacon's AI agent picks up this conversation, irrespective of what kind of input it is. It understands all the ways discussion going to happen in this conversation. Also imagine this happening across 10 different teams. It takes up all those conversations and creates a rec-spec document for you. The rec-spec document basically tells you as to which discussion or which point should go first, which should go last. It creates a detailed architecture for you. So now your implementation team knows, okay, fine, this is what the requirements of the clients are. While it also ends up telling you, hey, you missed out certain conversations, you missed out certain configurations, you've assumed these things of the client, it flags you live, which you can actually have with the client when you're talking to him. So you're not spending go back and forth in emails, getting things done. Beacon agent is doing live for you for this discovery part. And once the discovery is done, it creates complete, once you give an approval, it creates a complete detailed SOW for you as to how the work should actually happen, giving you priorities, giving you which task comes in. And if there's any gap in the task, again, it's getting flagged for you. So agent is not doing two tasks simultaneously. So every time the new conversation comes in, let's say you're having a conversation with the new team in after 3 months, it still tells you, okay, fine, this is what happened. It picks up the conversation, puts it into configuration again, starts doing the work for you. So your team is never going back and forth doing this work. The moment the SOW is created, it's let's start in the configuration for you. So Beacon deploys, so the Beacon multi-agent orchestrator deploys agents for taking information from the requirement document to start doing configuration on the platform in real time. And every time it executes something, it asks the human to confirm if the step is right or wrong. So not only are you training the agent to perform a particular task in a certain way, but you're also training the agent to become better at what it does. So number of confirmation it takes from you as many confirmations happen, it reduces now because it's learned from your input. Once the BRD configuration is done, the agent automatically starts doing the data migration. So now Beacon goes, it uses the ETL framework where it extracts information of the client's respective, sorry.
Yashvi, but I might have to stop you there because when you say about the configuration part, usually when we think of two software systems talking to each other, or like if especially if AI interacting with your system, we think of like a complex back-end coding or APIs, developers spending months
Right,
to make this happen. So it itself is becoming a big task for months, right?
right. So that's a great question. And see, this is what sets Beacon apart, right? Beacon is not going to a code level to do its execution. It's doing at the user interface level. Because I've trained Beacon on your product user interface. So my source of truth is the product. The backend configuration, everything, Beacon doesn't even need to use that because Beacon is never going to go there. So use Beacon by default uses your authorization code. So let's say if Harika doesn't have the admin access to do configuration, Beacon will never do that. But your tech team has that access, Beacon will start doing those configurations also. So it's as long as what access you give to Beacon does those particular executions only. And once it starts doing the configuration, once it starts doing the execution for you, it starts moving to data migration also. I mean, if it's okay for me to go there with you, right? So hence you're pretty much safe in terms of what Beacon is doing on your platform for configuration. So if we go back to what you're looking at, we've done configuration. We're looking at doing your automation for data migration. It's extracting information, transforming the way the client walks it. Now this is where what sets Beacon apart. Beacon does not take each data point and puts it across to an LLM, right? Because a lot of data is PI data. So you wouldn't want to expose that. So Beacon only takes that data which actually is not able to transform it, or there's some error into it. So only that per data might first get handed to the client in terms of to rectify it. If not, it might then push it to an LLM just to change the various formats or fields of it. And once the data transformation is done, Beacon starts going to the next stage. It's the only say yes, it's confirmed it. It starts doing all the test cases for you. The beauty of it is Beacon generates test cases itself. For imagine now you've done a new configuration, a new client, because Beacon has learned the knowledge of the product, it can generate those test cases for you in real time. And once into the test cases, you go to cutover. So now, because the agent has done all the heavy lifting, it has picked up all the various gaps that were there. It is clubbed. It's ensured that the data migration everything has happened well. Your cutover happens very smoothly. I'm not saying that won't be errors. There obviously be errors, but there'll be a huge reduction in the number of errors that you have. Finally, when hypercare happens, the number of tickets you get also reduced. One, because Beacon has done a great job in implementation, but even if tickets come in, Beacon can resolve not only the basic L1, L2 level tickets itself, but in complex L3 level tickets, Beacon can debug that issue and give it to the implementation team as to what issue the client might be facing so you can solve it out immediately. So now, Beacon, right from a discovery stage to a hypercare stage, or every single step of the way, Beacon is able to automate those processes.
I mean, I can clearly see how we can get a way out of consultant burnout from whatever you have explained.
Yes.
But can you also tell me as a whole, as an organization, what are the outcomes they can expect, and is it something you have done something previously with Beacon? What are the outcomes that that we have seen with that?
Right. So one question, just to add to your questions, one question that definitely be added is, so Beacon, is it going to replace project management tools? It's not. We are not a project management tool. Beacon can get integrated into any project management tool because at the end, your project management tool is a source of truth for the entire organization. It's also a source of truth for your backend tech team. It's a source of truth for your clients also. Beacon can take information from those project management tools when it's being discussed. It can implement those various steps along the way while also updating those tools in real time. So the moment your requirement gathering is done, it will take up all the information from those tickets that have been raised across Jira and other platforms, does the execution and updates the platform itself that this has happened. Now, a case in point that we've seen the best result out is we've done it for a client called High Radius, which provides SaaS solutions for the office of the CFO. Now, so we did the DMS model for them, and what took them about 4 to 5 days to do the configuration, it took us about 22 minutes to do it. So that was a huge impact for them. And the second was what we done with the client called Darwin Box, where they normally take about 2 weeks to do a leave policy configuration, and Beacon was able to do it in a half a day for them. So now imagine the impact that you're having on the implementation team, where they can now do much higher configurations. They can do it much quicker, so that rather than spending time being just executioners, you're actually asking your team to become builders and architects to understand how the ecosystem actually works.
Coming, I mean, trying to come to that point. What happens, like, so walking back through the whole implementation life cycle with
Yes.
AI execution, I think we have been trying to automate, like, really automate the thing most nearest to the point of 80%. And if this level of automation and execution can happen automatically with AI, what happens to the economics of professional services, like even with the matter of employees of your enterprise or enterprises, what happens to that?
Right. See, if you look at the current state of affairs across SaaS companies who do implementations or professional services, it's going away from a model of a per hour billing markup to a flat fee which is linked to outcomes. And that's not happening. It's happening in every single industry, professional services, consulting, you name it. Because people want to see value, which has a predictable output, rather than me sitting for 10 hours doing work for you and just telling the client that, hey, your thing is very complex, we didn't understand this earlier, so the billings might change. So so economics happens, or there's impact happening in two places. One, it happens to your top line because your implementation is getting quicker. To your bottom line, because now you're not doing per hour billing, but you're doing flat fees billings. It also helps the client because his cost is also predictable now, right? So, and as for the employees or the professionals in this industry, they get to learn the software better. They get to understand how AI actually functions for their own industry, and they get to upskill themselves from just being executioners to being proper designers, architects, understanding problem statements better. This is a great skill set to have over just sitting like a dog and working on your Excel sheet another day. So, uh, this is where I I believe AI is going to impact in the professional service industry.
Lot of insights from you, and that's all from my side. Yashvir, if you want to say something for the professional service leaders in our crowd now live, uh, what do you want to tell about the level of AI has been doing for them? Like something like you know like a suggestion or something. You want to say something to them from Beacon side?
Yeah, um, it's a big responsible statement to say here, but but what I can start basically tell them to ensure is that l- build your AI skills, understand how do you become better at using AI for doing tasks than just telling AI to do your task. They're two different. There's a very big difference here. Just ask him to write a prompt. Just ask him to create an email differs from the way you actually draft that email. the thought behind it, the empathy behind it, the reasoning behind it. Similarly, when it comes to AI for professional services, go in the market, explore tools that can do this automation for you. Yes, even if it comes, let's say people might say, but hey, 70% of us is configured, but 30% is, a manual implementation. Great. That 30% can be done yourself because that's still required. But 70% can be configured by the AI. Try to understand how to make it work for you. There are plenty of tools there, especially Beacon. Experiment with us. You understand how great impact actually provide to clients, the value that we provide to them at the end of the day. And I think that is something people should definitely try to in, ingrain in their day-to-day work.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ashwir, for sharing insights and showing us how AI execution is shifting implementation from, I think, one of system like a single projects to a continuously learning and improving kind of system. And thank you, everyone who joined us today. We hope this conversation gave you a fresh perspective on the future of professional services. And if you like to see how Beacon can help your organization, simply leave your email in the pop up. Our team will get back in touch and show you a personalized demo on your product in just 7 days. Thanks again. I hope we'll see you in our next session. Thank you.
Thank you.